Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today for a very special event. The dedication of the Miami Post Office in honor of Staff Sergeant Manuel Mendoza, a man who served the state of Arizona and our country with bravery and heroism. My name is Brian McCoy, Manager of Marketing for the Arizona District of the United States Postal Service. And to begin this afternoon's program, please rise for the presentation of colors from the Globe VFW Post 1704.
Present arms! Ready, close colors, vote! Order!
At this time, I would like to invite Vice Mayor Don Ryman to come up and introduce some special guests and welcome everybody to Miami. Vice Mayor?
Well, as Vice Mayor of the town of Miami, I'd like to welcome you all to this ceremony, particularly the Mendoza family and Congressman Kirkpatrick. We appreciate your being here for this momentous event, and we'll turn it back over to people who know what they're doing.
All right, thank you, Vice Mayor. I have a few other introductions to make on behalf of the Postal Service. To my left, with a tie, our Postmaster, Mike Quintana. And to my right is Pat Hawkins, the Manager of Post Office Operations for all of the 855 zip codes. All right, now it starts getting fun. I am pleased to introduce Sylvia Nandine, who would like to say a few words on behalf of the Mendoza family. Sylvia?
Real close, Sylvia.
Good afternoon. I'm pretty good with public speaking, so I hope my voice isn't too loud. Thank you so much for this great honor. Our family is so proud that this town of Miami has taken my father under its wing for recognition for his heroic feats during World War II. He was always a pretty humble man, so he never spoke a lot about his military actions and his time in the service. And it really has only recently come to light all that he did, and it's wonderful to have the family here to receive all the recognition that he was due all of these years ago. We are so happy to be here today to help in this dedication of the U.S. Post Office in the name of my father. All of his sons and daughters are here to celebrate along with his wife, Alice, and we are happy that his other family, the rest of his family, is also represented today. Thank you to the town of Miami. You have all been so kind and wonderful. From this ceremony down to, of course, the wonderful kiosk that you put in your town square, which all of our family members go to visit routinely, and we always are proud to drive through Miami and see the signs, the highway signs posting some honor to my father as well. Thank you so much for this honor today. Manuel.
There was one introduction I failed to make. I'd like to recognize the San Carlos Veterans Association. Would you raise your hand up, please? In 1967, Congress passed the first law allowing a postal facility to be dedicated to an individual through public law. The first dedication was in December of 1967 in a place called the Bronx, New York. A member of U.S. House of Representatives for New York from 1935 to 1964, Charles Buckley was the first recipient of this honor. The ironic part of the story was that the dedication was for a post office scheduled to be built. It was never completed. So it took more than 7 years in 1975 in Brunswick, Georgia, for the first formal dedication to occur. Since that time, more than 700 individuals have been so honored. Today is just the third dedication in the state of Arizona. The first was in honor of Congressman Boris Udall in Tucson in 2006. The dedication includes the fact that the congressman played professional basketball, although somehow I don't think that was the reason why the post office was dedicated. Our second was just last month when the Prescott, Maine post office was dedicated in the honor of Senator Barry Goldwater. As we prepare to dedicate our third post office in Arizona, it is my pleasure to welcome the individual who introduced the bill in Congress, Congresswoman Ann Kirkpatrick.
In 1922, just 15 years after the founding of Miami, a baby boy was born, and his parents named him Manuel V. Mendoza. He grew up healthy and strong in the loving arms of his family and in the nurturing community that is here and continues this day to love its young people, give them opportunity, support families, honor the elderly. One of the things I love so much about Miami is the culture of caring and loving each other that's so evident in this community. Manuel went to high school here. He met his sweetheart, Alice. They got married. 2 months after they were married, he was drafted into the Army. And one of the things he learned were the values of hard work, family, courage, and bravery. He served in World War II. He was stationed in Italy. He exemplified outstanding service to his country above and beyond the call of duty. He single-handedly was able to stop the advance of the Germans in Italy, and for that he last year received the Medal of Honor posthumously. And it was a real pleasure to get to know the Mendoza family in this process. He also fought in the Korean War and then settled in Mesa with Alice, where they raised their wonderful family. His being honored here today is a big deal. As you heard, this is just the third post office naming in the state of Arizona. I did introduce the legislation. We were able to get it passed in the House and the Senate and signed into law. And I have a special presentation today to make to the Mendoza family. Palmer, can you, Kathy? Would all of the family join me here? We got a copy of the actual legislation. It's signed by the president, and we're giving this plaque to the family today for their memories and for their honor. So, Alice and the Mendoza family, it's my honor my privilege and my joy to present to you this legislation signed by the President of the United States that names this post office today after Staff Sergeant Manuel V. Mendoza.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You can return to your seats. We also have a similar plaque for the city, Vice Mayor. And we're gonna, Kathy's gonna bring that to your meeting this week and present that to you, but you can hang that in City Hall. So I want to thank our Native American veterans for your service, all of our veterans here today. This is a great day not only for the Mendoza family, but also for the town of Miami and for our armed services, and thank you so much.
Now, I'm sure many of you are waiting for the closing comments from Joe Sanchez, but before we get to them, it's time to do the formal unveiling. Now, the plaque, the actual dedication plaque, is not here yet, so we have an enlargement of what the plaque is likely to look like. You want to take pictures? Don't be shy. Come on up. It's my pleasure to introduce apparently a man who needs no introduction, Joe Sanchez.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. And I'm going to be very brief because I know it's warm out here. I really want to thank everybody for coming. It's such a great occasion. I've been with the Postal Service here for 35 years. I came here to this office in 1964 when it was built. But I have a letter that I'd like to read that came to me in 1991. It said, "Dear Joe, on the occasion of the 20th anniversary of the United States Postal Service, it is fitting that we pause and reflect on our proud heritage. Benjamin Franklin was appointed the first Postmaster General by the Continental Congress on July the 26th, 1775. And nearly a year before the department was not created, nearly a year before the Declaration of Independence. However, the Post Office Department was not created until September 22nd of 1789. Samuel Osgood was appointed by the PO Department as the first Postmaster General by President George Washington." So I know that's a lot of history to go back, but I thought it was important to recognize some of the things. On 181 years later, on August the 12th of 1970, President Richard Nixon signed the Postal Reorganization Act of 1970. This law converted the Post Office Department into the United States Postal Service. The new Postal Service officially began operations in July the 1st of 1971. The way mail is processed and delivered to American citizens has changed more in 20 years than in entire history of the Post Office Department. And we continue to experience unprecedented change. This is very important, the next thing that I'm going to read to you. One thing that has not changed in over 200 years is the dedication of loyal, hardworking civil servants who continue to provide the very best postal service in the world. And please, they say, please accept this certificate. And it was signed by Arnold Elias, who at that time was my boss in Tucson. And it was signed by the Postmaster General of the United States at that time, Anthony W. Franks. And what was important there, that they recognized 3 employees that were here at that time that had a total of 91 years of service. And that's also important because the Postal Service has served many and provided opportunities for many of our veterans to gain employment. That's how I got started. during the time when if you took that original test, you know, back in 1961 when I did, you had a train coming from Baltimore that made another train in Chicago, and if you missed a turn somewhere, you were wiped out. You missed the test. But they provided 5 points for a veteran and 10 points for a disabled veteran, and that helped quite a bit for everybody to especially veterans that needed a job at that time and came on board. And when I was hired, you might want to remember this, Mike, I was temporary, part-time, indefinite substitute. And I was guaranteed like 2 hours a week, but the opportunity, the folks that I worked with at that time under civil service convinced me that it was a great opportunity for a career. And I did like 35 years, as I said. And I would like to just read real quickly some of the people that came before me. The first postmaster that I remember was a fellow named Gim Williams. The fellow that hired me was Postmaster Odie Shipp. Harold Williams was also a postmaster later. And this is very important too, because one of my dear friends who has passed away became the first Hispanic postmaster at Miami, Humberto Güero Padilla. And then I followed Güero when he retired, and I know there was some others in between myself and Teresa Spihar. I think she was right before you, Mike. And we certainly want to thank all of you for attending this afternoon. Good luck, and it's a pleasure and a privilege to have the Congresswoman here, and we want to thank you again. And I'll give it back to you, Brian. Thanks so much.
All right, again, thank you all for coming. For those of you that are thirsty, we have some cold water inside, and if you need a little snack for the road, we have some cookies inside. So thank you for coming on a very important day in the history of Arizona as well as Miami. So again, drive safe and thank you very much.